Question I'm frequently asked by callers on consultations: how can I avoid paying taxes altogether? Can I renounce my citizenship? This is a great question, especially when you're looking at major gains that anytime you sell your cryptos. So let's break out three different locations. Some people talk about renouncing and moving to Dubai. That's very well known as a zero tax location. Or in Europe, Portugal is a very popular place to go for perceived zero taxation. Also, in the US, Puerto Rico is a viable option. Let's talk about them. First of all, if you are a US citizen or a what's called a permanent resident, a long-term permanent resident, then you are a US taxpayer. And as a US taxpayer, you are subject to taxation on all your income, wherever it is derived throughout the world, regardless of where you live. So, most countries in the world will tax you when you live in that country, but the US taxes you for the very fact that you're alive anywhere you are. So, this is a big difference between the US. So, if you're talking to foreigners about your tax situation, be very clear about this difference between Americans and every other country of the world. So what does this mean? So if you move to Dubai, you may have zero taxation on your crypto transactions in Dubai, but the entire amount is taxable in the US. If you live in a country where you are taxed on your income, you're having to pay tax on your income there and in the US. How's that fair? Well, there is this thing called the foreign tax credit, where you get a dollar for dollar credit against your US tax return for income taxes that you're paying in a foreign country. So, this is a way that the US government has made it so that it's fair to the crypto trader to not be double taxed. Let's talk about the other locations. How about Portugal? A lot of people want to move to Portugal. Well, Portugal has a complex set of tax rules, but if you play it right, you have zero tax on your crypto transactions in general. Now, again, still you're subject to US taxation. The only opportunity you have as a US citizen, the tax haven you have as a US citizen, is to move to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a US territory, and it has special tax provisions written into it that are guaranteed by the US government. In in short, Puerto Rico is the US tax haven. Here's what they got going. You can move to Puerto Rico, you can sign up for what they call one of their Act 60 tax incentive plans, where as an investor, you are taxed on 0% on your capital gains. Now think about that. 0% on your capital gains. You still report them, but you multiply it times the tax rate of 0%. So that's just on the gains you make while you were living in Puerto Rico. So a lot of people move there and stay there for 3 or 4 years. There's a lot of rules and regulations about it. And you want to make sure you obey both the Puerto Rican and the US laws when it comes to that. But that's a very attractive option. You can do that without having to renounce your citizenship. That's the only way, really, to get the zero capital gains tax. The second thing you do is renounce your citizenship. Let's play that out. When you renounce your citizenship, first, before you can renounce, you have to have a citizenship in another country. And I would think long and hard about where you go. You can always go to like the island of Nevis. There's all sorts of little islands all over that you give them enough money, they'll give you a citizenship. But a lot of these countries, other countries don't recognize those citizenships. You need to get visas maybe to go to this country or that country. So you want to make sure you get a passport in a country that has that's widely accepted in other countries and allows you to travel without having to get passports. So that's a big thing. Secondly, you have to get the second passport first. Now, the US attitude is that you can only have one passport. But the fact of the matter is, you have to have two passports before you go back down to one passport. And in reality, many people never cancel their first citizenship. But if you want to avoid taxation, this is something you'd want to do. Now, just very careful. You need to know this. If you're going to renounce your citizenship, you have to go into the government, to the consul office, and tell them why. Your reason cannot be, it cannot be that you're trying to avoid taxes, because that's the one reason of a few by which they'll deny your request to excommunicate. They will force you to remain on. So you got to come up with some reason, like you hate the US government, you think Donald Trump is a nincompoop, and therefore you're not going to stick around anymore. That's got to be your reason. Now, when you renounce, there's a thing called, proverbially called, an exit tax, form 8854. And it's kind of like when you play Monopoly and, that hour to quit has come upon you and everybody counts up how much money they have. It's basically like that. If you have assets in excess a current value of 2 million or more, or if you've had high taxes in the past 5 years and that amount changes, then you have to basically pay an exit tax. An exit tax is basically paying the capital gains in the income on those assets before you leave the country. So it could be painful depending on how big you are. This is the thing that allegedly Roger Ver did not do when he excommunicated. He didn't declare all those assets and pay a tax on them. Now, the second thing you need to know about is that when you renounce your US citizenship, the US government has 10 years in which they can still come after you for non-payment of taxes. 10 years. And they've written this into all the tax treaties they have around the world. So it's very big. In fact, this is how they got, again, Roger Ver. It was 10 years to the day, and they arrested him. Actually, I mean, maybe it was a day or two before the 10 years was up. They arrested him in Spain for that window of time. Now, what is citizenship that one might consider renouncing it? Citizenship is basically three things in primarily. One, it's an unrestricted right to enter and leave the country as many times as you want and stay as long as you want. So basically, it's an unlimited visa, if you will. It's also like a work permit. You are authorized to work in the US without having any additional permits, right? Whereas foreigners have to get work visas. You already have one built in because you are a citizen. The third thing that a passport or citizenship gives you is the right to vote in the elections. Now, some people say, all the elections are stolen in the US. Why would I ever vote in the elections? We could argue over that, but those are the three major benefits of a citizenship beyond, bragging rights and, and history and all that good stuff, and patriotism. But that's what the three things are of a passport. So if you renounce and you go to a foreign country, it is possible you may never be let back into the US. For example, there's the story of Rosie O'Donnell, who got very bent out of shape that Trump had elected. She moved from California to Ireland, and from her perch in Ireland, started saying all sorts of nasty things about Donald Trump and yelling and being all sorts of vitriol, and she had actually gotten her Irish citizenship. Well, just recently, Secretary of State of Marco Rubio gave her a gift that she wasn't expecting. He automatically renounced her US citizenship and pulled her citizenship because she had two of them. So she had been holding on to both of them, and now she is officially no longer an American citizen. So, why, if you're young, I think you might want to think twice about giving up American citizenship. People all over the world would dream about becoming an American citizen. They would love to come to America, the land of opportunity, etc. And to walk away from it is a serious act to them. Now, also, it's difficult. You just can't go back and say, "Ah, I changed my mind. I want to become a citizen again." No, you got to go the hard way. You got to get a green card. You got to wait a number of years, and it can be delicate. So I would highly recommend that if you're young, not to casually give away your citizenship and not to think that just because you moved to Dubai somehow gets you out of owing taxes in the US. You actually might be digging a really nasty hole for yourself in taxes when you are discovered not paying them. So if you wish to discuss international tax planning, I think you should get advice. Contact our offices. I'd be happy to talk to you about it, more aspects of that. I have worked with people who have renounced their citizenship. We helped them through the steps to get to the place where they wanted to be. And also, a big part of it is talking through what it means to leave. So happy to talk to anyone who's interested in discussing those options.